Hello, hello, and welcome back. We are at day 13, so you're nearly done with the 2 weeks. As you know, it's 14 days, and you've made it to this day already. So I know that you've already learned so many different things over the last 12 days. And today we want to use this time to recap and then also help you make the next step so that you, once you finish this course, you know how exactly to move forward with your goals. So to start this off, let's first remind ourselves a little bit about the 4 key areas that we always take as the foundation for everything.
These are the training or the workout exercise program, the nutrition, your accountability, and your community. So without those, you will not see the results you want, and that's probably what brought you here in the first place, because other programs did not have that. Hence why we focus on that, so you get the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, and always remember it's just like a chair. So a chair has 4 legs, and we have these 4 key areas because they all work together. You can't just focus on one and then expect to have a lot of results, because you need all 4 of them together. So let's go a little bit through the different days that you just went through, the 12 previous days, and let's recap them and also just recap a bit the tips from them. So we started everything off after the introduction and the 4 key areas with shape. And I remember you were talking about the clay. Maybe you can just go over that a little bit again. Shape and muscle building, which is day 3.
One tip for that is, whatever your goal is, if it's an aesthetic goal in the mirror, then it's going to involve minimizing fat, reducing fat, and building muscle. So however you decide to go about those 2 things, or 2 different things that you need to focus on in your wellness journey, then you need to target those individually. And different tools for that will get that result, but minimizing fat and adding clay or adding the actual muscle is what you have to focus on.
Yeah, and I remember day 3 we were talking a lot about muscles and breaking down that myth that women don't actually get bulky when they gain muscle. So really important whenever we talk about strength training and muscle building, this is for shape, this is not to become a bodybuilder. So then day 4, day 5, we were looking into food, so nutrition and tracking a little bit. So maybe a few keywords.
And the best tip for that, like in nutrition, one of the best tips, I don't know if we mentioned this, is focusing on foods that you actually enjoy and can fit into your lifestyle. So the best thing going forward first would be not to demonize foods and not to look at foods as this restriction and negative outlook, because how you consume the foods can actually dictate how they play on your body. So yes, we did focus on protein being one of the most important things regardless of your goal. So definitely want to focus on that. But also just having a healthy relationship with food, looking at food as fuel and as a way to support your goals, not as a restriction or a penalty, so to speak. And then last, of course, just getting awareness on your food. Start taking pictures, start writing it down, just being mindful. And that goes back to enjoying it. So if you sit down and actually enjoy the food and you're mindful of what you're eating, you can actually get away with some of the other cheap foods to a degree.
Very, very true. And I always say it gives a lot of peace of mind, because as Coach just said, you can eat what you like, but you also have this kind of control over it. So really, really good. And as you know, it's one of the 4 key areas, so we can't go without the nutrition. Then day 6, we talked a bit about a routine, like a sustainable routine, and how many times to train. And this was maybe a bit mind-blowing for some, so more is not always better. It's just about having an effective approach so that you don't have to spend so much time, and then also having the rest and recovery times for you so that your body can actually develop in the best way. Do you have anything else to that?
Spot on.
Well, then we were going into motivation and time. So I think these 2 are definitely 2 very big pieces that a lot of people get wrong, because we try to focus on a certain feeling that we get, or we wait for a feeling to go to the gym, and also we have such busy schedule that we always think we can't fit a workout in anymore, but actually it's just about the priority and making it fit into your schedule.
And that's where the accountability and community come in as well, because the motivation and time aspect, that's where it can help you find that discipline and support to find something that you can stick with and make this a lifestyle and not a quick fix.
Yeah, 100%. So then we also looked at focus, and this is a very big part of your fitness approach, because I just said more is not always better, and that's the same thing with the fitness activities that you do. So if you want to see the best results, focus on one thing. And that's where your reflection really comes in, being honest with yourself, what actually is your outcome, and then going from there, which approach is the best one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Then day 10, we were talking about abs and how to actually get abs. So maybe
hopefully you remembered the quote, abs are made in the kitchen, not in the gym. So, and also by focusing on using your abs in the way that they're actually designed, meaning they're shoved in between your upper and lower body to help us move and do stuff throughout the day. So getting mobile, moving a lot, and lifting and doing things with your body that involve stabilizing the core and pieces together will help build the abs, not hours and hours of crunches lying on the floor, flailing about, hoping for a six-pack.
They're not gonna come. All right, then so day 11, we're already at day 11, we were talking about a training program, and that it's important for everybody to have the structure. And I believe you were talking a lot about the languages and how we also just have a structure to move towards a goal and not just do bits and pieces here. And also to that, again, training program is for everybody. It's not just for elite athletes, and it's very important to just have this structure. And it also will take off a lot of stress from you, because you don't have to try to figure out what to do in the gym. You can just go and you already have it in your plan what to do.
Exactly.
And then on yesterday, basically, day 12, we were talking about tracking your progress and why the scale is not always the best way for that. And I can imagine that was quite mind-blowing for a lot of you, because for now, most women just use the scale. So maybe you can just dive a little surface scratching.
Yeah, so it kind of goes all the way back, so it's full circle to what we were talking about with the clay and minimizing fat and increasing muscle. So the scale is not going to show you those two things changing in your body. And when you want shape, aesthetic, looking in the mirror, looking better, feeling better, enhancing curves, that will not be reflected on the scale in a positive way because you're adding clay. So it's a good tool to use, but realize that it has its limitations and that it's only going to track one thing, and it's unidimensional. So you need to track the other stuff, such as how you feel about your body, how do your clothes fit, what amount of weight you're lifting if you're lifting weights, or if you're improving in your other workouts, you know, if they're group classes or whatever the case may be. All of these things combined will give you a much better direction of how things are progressing and what you need to change.
100%. So with that, we are at the current day, and you have gained so much knowledge now, and now the question is probably, where do I go from here? What do I do first? There's so many different things now that I learned. What should I do first? What should I focus on? And to not make it any confusing, let's see, what would be the best move forward? What would be the first thing to do?
Absolute first thing for any of you is determine what are your goals. What do you actually want for your fitness journey? Is it a quick fix? Is it a short-term thing? Do you have an event coming up and you just want a certain number on the scale? Do you want an aesthetic physique? Do you want to be better at running, cycling, whatever you have, whatever that is? You need to determine that, because when you determine the goal, that will determine the input. We talked about this with sports analogies and different language and stuff like that. So you can't set the goal to learn Russian and then you start studying French. You'll never learn Russian. It just won't work. Yeah. Same way with sports. You can't want to be a better swimmer, but you start riding a bike. It's not going to work. You got to get in the water. So that's the very first thing every single one of you needs to identify, and hopefully we laid that plan out for you. And from there, you can determine what you need to do, and you can take some of the bits and pieces that we gave you regarding nutrition, having a 4-key approach towards that goal. All those things will help ensure you get the results that you want.
Yeah, that's very well summarized, and I can totally agree with that. Like, know where you want to go to, and then you can trace the steps back, what you actually need to do. And another thing that's really important is to actually start, so taking the action on it. Oftentimes the planning phase is easier than the actual implementation, so we like to plan a lot and maybe this and that, but what's really important as well is to just start. And the best for that is actually to schedule it in. So for example, you finish this course tomorrow and then put into your calendar when's going to be your next workout or your first workout, or when are you gonna do your first meal tracking, or whatever you put as your first actions. But make sure that you take action after this course, because otherwise you've just gained a lot of knowledge, but it will be worth nothing because you haven't actually used it.
100%. And if you want to get started and you specifically are looking for the aesthetic adding clay result that we focus on, then we have the perfect getting started course for you that we'll go into more detail on tomorrow. But if you're not in that camp, remember, the goal dictates the process. So we're talking specifically to you women out there that want that result. This next day you're not going to want to miss. And for those of you today that you don't want that, then your very first step needs to be today you're going to write down what you're going to do, and you're going to hold yourself accountable to those steps. So decide when you're going to get started, how you're going to get started, first what your goal is, and then make that plan and hold yourself accountable to that. And implement those 4 keys that we mentioned before.
Yeah, exactly. Always remember the 4 keys. Don't miss one of those or you're not going to see the results.
100%.
But yes, tomorrow, so we have one more day. Even though we just went over some steps that you can do, basically the first ones to do, but tomorrow we have one more day where we want to go into basically a very big boost for your fitness journey. So right now you have a lot of knowledge, but if you really want to level up your fitness and really see results, then you don't want to miss tomorrow, because we're going to go into something else that will really help you with that. So we save that for tomorrow, and we will see you there tomorrow.